Hello, Kyleen Sherwood here, leader of teamWISH, and I'm talking today about a very important topic and one that I think is a pretty universal one that lots of people are going to benefit from. So be sure to grab a piece of paper, maybe a couple pieces of paper, and a pen, because I think you're going to have some notes you might want to take on this. I'd actually encourage watching it through maybe without taking notes and just listen and absorb what you can, and then watch it through at least a second time and take your notes then. There's going to be a lot of material in this one. I'm going to try to keep it somewhat short, but that means I'm going to be packing a lot of information into a short video. So let's dive on in. Today we are talking about overcoming the top 3 business mistakes. So these are what I've identified as business mistakes that I think a lot of us tend to make and we don't even realize it's happening. And so I want to talk about those top 3 mistakes. I see it in my team all the time. And then I want to talk about how to overcome those, because it does no good to tell you the problem and then not give you some ideas for overcoming that. So I'm just going to tell you right off the bat what those 3 business mistakes are. So number 1 is working without a why. Number 2 is working without confidence. And number 3 is working without a plan. So I want you to write those down. Those are the top 3 mistakes I see made on a regular basis in my team and in business in general. So again, it's working without a why, working without confidence, and working without a plan. So mistake number 1, working without a why. I'm going to share a quote with you. And it says, before you start some work, always ask yourself 3 questions. Why am I doing it? What the results might be? And will I be successful? Only when you think deeply and find satisfactory answers to these questions, go ahead. I think that's so powerful and so important, and I think it's something that we miss, honestly. There's a really powerful TED Talk that a lot of us have probably already seen, and I know that my teamWISH business owners have seen it because I've recommended it several times. But it is Simon Sinek, Start With Why, and I believe the actual video title is, How Great Leaders Inspire Action. He talks about the golden circle, and I highly recommend going and watching that. It basically talks about, and it is based on his book, Start With Why, and it talks about how the why is the most essential and important element of any business venture. And so I just want to give you some signs and symptoms, basically, of what it might look like if you're working without a strong why, and then some treatment for that. So some signs or symptoms that you may not have a very clear why is that it takes 5 minutes for you to tell someone what you do. If they ask, hey, so tell me, what do you do with this posh thing? And it takes you 5 minutes to tell them what you do. Or you just don't know at all and you stumble over words and have no idea. You might be a little bit scattered and inconsistent. And that's going to show up in your social media posts, how you book parties and events and things like that. If you're copying and pasting posts that other people are doing or that home office is putting out, or if you have a why that changes frequently, that's a pretty clear sign that you don't have a very strong and consistent why. Or if you're finding that it's hard to stay motivated and focused, if you're seeing that you're distracted, if you're seeing that staying on top of your work is a bit of a challenge, if your posts are lacking focus and seem a little bit all over the place and distracted, what that creates is an environment where your customers are often not as engaged. And you see that in your VIP group with people not commenting or liking your posts, or in events, nobody really giving you any feedback. And that's because your customers are confused. Your customers don't know either who you are and what you're doing. So it creates an environment where people don't get connected and they stay disengaged. So we're going in there into why it's important then to have a why. When you have a clear why, it creates loyalty and they buy into you. Because that's what we need to remember. We are not selling a product. We're not selling Perfectly Posh. We're not selling a business opportunity with Perfectly Posh. We're selling ourselves. Like me, who am I? What are my core values? That's what people buy into. They want to know that you get them and that you share values with them. Only then do they care what you have to share with them. Brian Burdick has said it a couple times, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I believe that's actually an Oprah quote, but it's a good one to keep in mind. They need to be connected to you, or they're not going to care what you have to tell them about Posh and the products. So you want to create a connection through shared values. And when that happens, you're going to see your sales increase. You're going to see that you have more teammates signing up. You're going to see a lot more engagement in your groups for sure. Because people buy into you, and then they create a loyalty to you. Because they can buy Posh from anyone. We have how many consultants now? Over 90,000. We're going to be coming up on 100,000 here pretty soon. And while that is by no means saturated, what that does mean is that there's a consultant out there for everyone. And they have no reason to go to you over Sally Joe Posh on the, end of their neighborhood, unless you've created something of value and connected to them on a personal core value system level. So that is why you want a why. Okay, so we've identified why you want a why and some of the symptoms and signs that you may not have a very clear one. Okay, so then what's the treatment to that? What you need to do is figure out what your values are. That needs to be your first step. So what are your values? You can figure out your values by 3 things. What do you spend your time, money, and thoughts on? So what are you spending your time on? What do you do during the day? Where does your time go throughout the day? Your money, what are you spending money on? And your thoughts. When your mind starts to wander, what is it going to? When you can identify that and be very honest with yourself, your why, it shouldn't be what you think it should be. Okay, your why is what it is. You already have a why. That's kind of the hurdle we have to jump over. If you're still with Posh at this point, you have a why. Because we don't stick with something unless we have a motivation to stick with it. Because goodness knows we are going to have frustrations and obstacles and challenges and things that get in the way. So what is it that keeps you going even when those things happen? Odds are you already have a why, you just haven't identified it yet. So be really honest with yourself and figure out what you're spending your time, money, and thoughts on. Because we prioritize the things that matter to us. So it's not about what you wish you were spending your time and money and thoughts on. What are you actually spending your time, money, and thoughts on? Who are you? Who are you? What matters to you? And what problem did Posh solve for you? Maybe you didn't even realize you had any issue before Posh. But look at your life before Posh and your life now. Write that down and then look at the difference and figure out what problem Posh solved for you. So when you're creating a why, really what you're looking at is who are you? What do you do? And why does it matter to anybody else? Okay? So that is mistake number 1 and how to fix it. Mistake number 2, we're moving on to working without confidence. And I know that this is one that so many of us struggle with. For some reason, especially as women, this is a really key piece to this. It doesn't matter how strong your why is if you can't share it with people confidently. So I have a quote for this one too. So let's share that quote with you. It says, and it's Shania Twain, and she says, I find that the very things I get criticized for, which is usually being different and just doing my own thing and just being original, is the very thing that's making me successful. I love that. And that is so typically true, right? The things we get criticized for tend to be the things that are going to make us successful because those are what set us apart. And so if you're feeling down or self-conscious or lacking confidence because of something, look at those things and figure out why. Why is that knocking your confidence? Because really, in truth, those are probably the things that are going to set you apart and make you successful if you learn how to harness those. So, some signs that you might be lacking in confidence is that you're a copycat. So you're, again, copying and pasting things from home office or other people because you think they said it better or whatever. That's a copycat behavior, and that usually says you're not confident enough in who you are just yet. You might be making excuses, so things go wrong and you're going to make a million excuses for it. Or You know what you're supposed to be doing and you're not doing it because of confidence, but you're making excuses as to why you can't be doing it. People who are lacking in confidence and working without confidence tend to overthink things. They tend to procrastinate. They tend to rely heavily on scripts for, parties, events, VIP groups, things like that. Inaction, so they get to a point where they're just overwhelmed and don't even take action at all. So a clear sign of working without confidence is that you become stagnant or even that you begin to regress. And so those are some pretty clear signs or symptoms that you are lacking in confidence. So why is it important then to have confidence? Well, I think it's because most people don't want to follow someone if they don't know where they're going. It's just psychologically true. If we're going to be trying something new or doing something we've never done before or venturing into a new place, we're going to pick the person who seems to know what they're doing. And so the treatment then is to identify your why. Again, it kind of goes back to number one. Identify your why. Love your passion and live your passion. So be unapologetic. You are enough. You're not too much. You're not too little. You're not whatever. You are enough and you are exactly as you should be. Of course, we all have room for improvement. We all have things we could do a little bit better. That is so true. And that's essential for continuing to learn and grow and become even more successful. Humility is a fabulous trait. And I would dare say an essential trait to have to be successful. However, there's a difference between humility and lack of self-confidence. So we want to find humility, but still be able to own who we are unapologetically and confidently. Okay? So some things we can do then would be to write out affirmations. Pick an affirmation. Like I've got one right behind me. You matter. And so if you're struggling with something right now, you're feeling like you're not valued, like you're not important, like what you do doesn't matter, maybe you matter becomes your affirmation for the week. And what you need to do then is write that everywhere. Hang it up everywhere you can see it. Change all of your passwords on your computer to you matter. And that way you're writing it out every single day, several times a day. Do something to get that core affirmation in front of you every single day. All right. And so my suggestion is to pick one each week. So pick something you're struggling with and write a positive affirmation. So we don't want an affirmation that says, I'm not terrible at this. That's not an affirmation. You rock. That's an affirmation. So pick a positive affirmation and write it everywhere, put it everywhere. Books. Find books. Read books. I mentioned the Simon Sinek Start With Why book above, because really the more experienced we become with something, the more confident we become with something, the more exposure we have to an idea or a system or a process or an action, the more confident we become in our ability and our skills to do it. And so just naturally as a byproduct, our confidence improves and increases the more we gain knowledge and skill. So books. Circle of influence. Look at the 5 people that you're spending time with. Are these people that are lifting you up and bringing out the greatness in you? We are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So make sure you're spending the most time with people who are instilling confidence in you. Okay? So try and you succeed. There's an Eric Worre quote that I absolutely love. It's either you try or you learn from an experience. There is no failure. Okay? The only failure is not trying at all. And so we just want to get out there and try. Don't let failure, fear of whatever it is, keep you from doing it. Because the only failure is not trying. If you are learning and experiencing something, then you haven't failed. There's no such thing as failure. So be thinking big picture. So often we get caught up in the little things, and that can knock our confidence. We screw up one little thing, or the way we say something here, we're like, oh, why did I do that? Or we missed a sale somewhere and we're like, oh, I should have totally had that. Let those little things go and think big picture. So your legacy, your impact, you know, what What do you want to leave behind? What do you want people to know about you and think about you? Your children, if you have kids, what do you want them to see? Because they are learning from us. And whatever we are doing, they're absorbing. And so we want our kids learning confidence. We want our kids learning that it's okay to get out and make mistakes. It's how we get up and deal with it that matters. Mediocrity is death. Mediocrity is death. Good enough is the enemy of excellence. You cannot be excellent if you're okay with good enough. You will never be great and successful if you're okay with mediocrity. So just don't let it happen, okay? And when you're thinking confidence, so many of us care what other people think about us, but drill it into your head that those who matter aren't going to mind if you screw something up. Okay? And in fact, they're going to respect you 10 times more when they see that you're human just like them. So when you make mistakes, own them. Ooh, whoops, I totally messed up. I didn't get those shipped out this week. I am so sorry. I'm going to make it right for you. That right there shows that you're human, you're going to make it right, and they can connect with you now. It's actually statistically proven that customers are more likely to stay loyal to a company if they screwed up and then made it right than they are if the company had perfect performance. Isn't that interesting? People don't want to stay with a perfect company that does everything right. They have more customer loyalty to the company that messed up and then made it right. Very, very interesting right there. So just remember, like, the main treatment to lack of confidence is action. Action kills fear and inspires confidence. The more action you take, the more confidence you gain. All right, so number 3 mistake is working without a plan. So a quote I'd like to share with you. Our goals can only be reached through a vehicle of a plan in which we must fervently believe and upon which we must vigorously act. There is no other route to success. Pablo Picasso. Pablo Picasso was a brilliant man, huh? So signs and symptoms of working without a plan are that you are inconsistent, your sales and things are all over the place, engagement is all over the place, recruiting is hit or miss, you just don't even know where to start maybe. So without a plan, you're probably going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to have some difficulty explaining what you do at all. So if someone says, hey, what do you do? Like, what does it really entail to be a Posh consultant? If you have difficulty explaining what you do on a daily basis, you might not have a very clear plan. You're going to notice that there's a lot of time wasting and procrastination. Those are some key symptoms of lack of plan. And so I agree 100% with Pablo Picasso. The only route to success is to have a plan that you believe in your core and that you attack vigorously every single day. Megan Summer in Leadership Academy says it. She says, plan your work and work your plan. And it is so key. And it sounds so basic and simple, but so many of us don't do it. So let's talk treatment. What can we do if we're working without a plan? I am actually a big fan of having a formal business plan written out for your Posh business. And I can count on one hand the number of Posh consultants I know who have done that. Taken the time to write out their 18 to 30 page business plan for their Posh business. Now, I would strongly encourage you to do it. Once you put something on paper, so many of us can attest to this. Once you put something on paper, it makes it real. It gives you some accountability. And it gives you some direction. When you get overwhelmed and don't even know where to start, you look that business plan, you pull it out of the drawer, you open it up, and it says, okay, I'm in this time chunk here. These are my goals, and here are the action steps I outlined to get there. So I'm going to start with action step number 1, and I'm going to get it done today. So there you go. Treatment right there. Business plan. Write a business plan. If you're not sure how to do that, for my teamWISH girls, we have an entire event. If you go to our past events, it's called Business Planning 101 or Branding 101. Both of those will have the business plan outline, and I broke down each section of a business plan for you and helped you write those sections. So do it. eat the elephant one bite at a time, right? So take it in small chunks, do one section at a time, don't get overwhelmed by it. Focus. This is your main treatment right here. Get focused. Plan your work and work your plan. Get that business plan done. There are outline templates available online. If you're not on teamWISH, you can find a business plan outline, take it and create the outline. Take the time to do it because it's worth it. Another treatment to help you with this planning process is something like SitShare, one of these automatic post options, a social media planner. Perfectly Posh has one of their own in the Posh portal that outlines the entire week, and you write out every post you're going to do for every day of the week. Get that planned ahead of time so you're not scrambling every single day to figure out what you should be talking about that day. Calendars. I actually tell my business owners on teamWISH to do 3 calendars. I know we all use our phones. I know I do. My life is in my phone's calendar. So I have my phone calendar, and then I have 2 other calendars I use. One is in my team binder and one is my desk calendar. I recommend doing it 3 times, again, because I believe repetition drills it into your head and makes you more accountable for it. Set SMART goals. And if you don't know what SMART goals are, go look them up. Okay, those are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-sensitive goals. And so you want every goal you make to be a SMART goal. And you're going to be doing that if you're doing a business plan. So do SMART goals weekly. Create weekly ones and then check that every single day and see where you're at. Create a rotating to-do list. So instead of everything I have to get done today, write out everything you need to get done to hit the next goal you're reaching for. And then cross off what you can each day on that list. If you don't finish it that day, it just moves to the next day. It's at the top of the list for the next day. All right? So check your downline reports every single morning. When you get up, go look at your downline reports, write down your starting numbers. That's just going to get you in the habit of checking that every single day and watching where you are. You can also then check some trends and see what's happening. If you have a big jump, you can go, where did that $3,000 come from? And go back through and see where it came from. And then you're going to be able to catch and identify really quickly if you have some people on your team who are starting to jump out and really work their businesses. Every single week, I recommend really pulling a downline report, looking through it and seeing where your team is at, and then identifying some key individual leaders in your downline. I also recommend doing a team binder. So we have a specific one that we use and that I've kind of tweaked for teamWISH. And this team binder helps you get organized for the entire month. And then our team binder breaks it down each week so that you can set out action goals and things for each week. So get a binder. And I know that we have gone digital, paperless a lot of the time, but this one I really like doing handwritten, old school in a 3-ring binder. So if your upline does not have a team binder, reach out to me and I'm happy to get our PDF version to you so that you can create something that works for you. Okay? Basically, check your trackers, be in your virtual office, be looking at your downline reports, be writing your goals out, be keeping a calendar. Get intentional. That's really it. That's what it comes down to for that number 3, working without a plan. Get intentional. WISH for teamWISH. WISH stands for when intentional success happens. Because I do not believe you can be successful in business if you're just hoping and wishing for it. You have got to be intentionally doing things every single day to make that happen. And so these 3 business mistakes I think are the most common, and they tend to get in the way of success the most often. So figure out your why, get that solid, and then condense it. Figure out your 1 to 2 sentence why so that you have it right there and you know exactly who you are and why it matters to them. Number 2, work with confidence. Even if you have to fake it a little bit in the beginning, the more action you take, the more confidence you're going to gain. So get active and gain confidence. Number 3, work with a plan. Write out a formal business plan. Get organized, start tracking stuff, check your downline reports, and get those SMART goals written. Those are my top 3 business mistakes and how to overcome them. I hope that you can take some of this and apply it, because once you do, you're going to start seeing some immediate results. You're going to see success starting to happen, because when intentional, success happens.